DOT Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, presented by Connell Insurance. The Federal Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse finally rolled out in January 2020. This electronic database will track commercial driver's license holders who have tested positive for prohibited drug or alcohol use, as well as refusals to take required drug tests and other drug and alcohol violations. The clearinghouse has long been sought as a way to keep commercial drivers who have violated federal drug and alcohol rules from lying about those results and simply getting a job with another motor carrier. Here's what trucking companies need to know. The clearinghouse went into effect in January 2020. When registering, you must use your U.S. DOT number, not your employee identification number. You must provide a list of authorized users, and those must be reauthorized at least annually. Effective January 6, 2020, employers and their service agents are required to populate the clearinghouse with their employees' DOT drug and alcohol violations under Part 382 of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations and verification of a CDL driver's completed steps in the DOT return to duty status. At the same time, employers will have to begin querying the clearinghouse for required information for driver hiring and annual requirements. What data is submitted to the clearinghouse? Motor carriers must report violations of the DOT Part 382 drug testing regulations, including positive tests as well as refusals to take drug or alcohol tests, as well as actual knowledge violations, negative return to duty test results, and completion of follow-up testing plans and programs. Employers will have to submit a report of a drug or alcohol program violation by the close of the third business day following the date on which the employer obtained the information. Records will remain in the clearinghouse until return to duty is complete and 5 years have passed since the violation. Similarly, a fleet must keep records for a minimum of 5 years. It's important to understand the two types of clearinghouse queries. There are two types of queries motor carriers must make, full and limited. Full queries must be done at the pre-employment stage. The information returned by the clearinghouse will show any violation of the drug testing regulations in Part 382, as well as return to duty status once a driver has completed a treatment program following a violation. A limited query must be done at least once a year on each of a carrier's drivers. It essentially is simply asking if there is a record of this driver in the database. If there is, then the carrier must convert that into a full query to find out what that information is. Driver consent is also limited for limited queries, but not for every single one like the full queries. Carriers can add to that pre-employment consent paperwork that's already asking for consent to check their things like criminal records and motor vehicle records. It's extremely important for motor carriers to update their drug and alcohol testing policies to include the clearinghouse requirements. It's part of the regulations. Fleets can use third-party services. Employers are allowed to authorize service agents to report violations and to conduct queries of the clearinghouse on their behalf. Employers have to register in the clearinghouse first. Service agent authorizations were required as part of an employer's registration process. Designated service agents must register before accessing or reporting information to the clearinghouse.
How much clearinghouse queries cost? The query bundle an employer purchases from FMCSA will depend on the number of queries that need to be conducted. The flat per query rate is $1.25 for both limited and full queries.
Drivers need to know their rights and responsibilities. It's smart to make sure your drivers know their responsibilities and rights as well. If drivers change companies, they will have to register in order to give permission for the motor carrier to make queries of their information.